Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome and thank you very much for joining this webinar. Let me introduce myself. Probably some of you already know me, some others not. So my name is Pietro Grottoli and I'm the sales manager in LAUMAS Elettronica. I'm here today with my colleague Matteo Grisanti, who's in charge for our R&D department, to introduce you our new software that is called Instrument Manager. Briefly, this software is a tool completely free of charges that we have realized with the intent to make your life easier in the installation and in the calibration of our weighing instruments in general. The duration of this webinar will be about 40-45 minutes, and then we'll have our questions time. We'll answer to your questions just during the questions time, but in the meantime, you can write it in the chat so that you will not forget what you need to ask. Before starting with the real presentation, I'd like to give you some simple rules. Sorry, but someone switched on the microphone. So one of the main rules is keeping your microphones off. Otherwise, you will disturb the others that are attending the webinar. I also recommend you to switch off your camera. Otherwise, the others will see you, so there's a matter of privacy. Maybe you don't like it. And at the same time, it could reduce the speed of your internet connection, and this is not good to see the webinar. In case that you have technical problems, please do not write it in the chat, but send an email to webinar@laumas.it. Otherwise, connect the help desk of the Cisco program. In the end of the webinar, you will receive an email with a questionnaire. Kindly fill it and give us your feedback. Your feedback is extremely important for us in order to improve our service and to make things like that always in a better way. I also want to tell you that this webinar will be available in the next few weeks offline on our website. So if you cannot see it very well right now, or if you want to share it with someone else, remember that you can always find it on our website. Well, basically, I think I said all that I had to say, so I give the floor to my colleague Matteo that will start with the real presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. As told by my colleague Pietro, my name is Matteo Grisanti. I work in the LAUMAS R&D department, and today I will be the speaker for this webinar that is planned to be organized in two different sections. In the first one, we will see together a short PowerPoint presentation describing requirements and main functionalities offered by this tool, Instrument Manager software. And in the second part, we will see it at work with a live demonstration involving the use of a simple weighing system where one of LAUMAS multi-channel transmitter, named the CLM8, is used. So now we can start the presentation with a couple of words about the requirements needed for a correct use and functioning of the Instrument Manager software in the PC where it will be installed. From an hardware point of view, tool doesn't require specific resources in terms of CPU power or memory size due to the low amount of resources it requires in order to correctly work. But we have a specific requirement in terms of communication interface, due to the fact that in order to correctly communicate with connected instruments, a serial interface has to be available in the communication system used. This means that a user of Instrument Manager has to have available a PC with a physical serial port, or he will have to use a specific USB to RS485 or a USB to RS232 converter, depending from the kind of serial interface that will be used on the instrument in order to communicate to the PC. From an operating system point of view, Instrument Manager is a PC application developed to be compliant, fully compliant with all the Microsoft operating systems, starting from Windows 7 Service Pack 1. So Windows 8 and Windows 10 are comprised between this operating systems compliant with our software. Okay, the main features offered by our tool are substantially three. The most important is the management of instrument configurations. And aside it, Instrument Manager offers a couple of other set of functions working as support functions in order to guide and help the user during firmware update procedures, or during live monitoring of a connected instrument. And this last set of functions could be exploited by the user in order to easily execute procedures as the real calibration of the system, or in case of multi-channel instruments, to execute the equalization procedure. Now we can take a deeper look to each one of them, starting from the firmware update procedure. This because substantially, starting from now, from the first release of the software, all the instruments already in the market, or the LAUMAS instruments already in the market, should be updated from a firmware point of view in order to be correctly used with this software. So the firmware update will be a first step for any user now. Instrument Manager, once installed on the PC, will be able, after each start, of connecting to the internal pages of LAUMAS website and check for the presence of updated firmware revisions for the supported instruments. In case of newer firmware version will be available, it will be asked to the user to download them in order to be used in further update procedures. And once an instrument is connected to the software, it will be able to retrieve all the identifier parameters of the instrument. Among them, we have also the firmware version that will be compared by the software with a newer version available. If a newer version will be available, this condition will be automatically detected and signaled to the user by a specific icon, here highlighted with this red circle, and that will be also, we will see also in the successive live demonstration. If the user chooses to proceed with the update, or it has to update his instrument, the software will be able to support him during the whole procedure. That will be a guided procedure. During it, the only required action for the user is to restart the instrument in order to put it in the boot mode, working mode, needed for the correct conclusion and execution of the procedure itself. But now we can take a look to the most important feature of Instrument Manager, namely the configuration management. With the term configuration, we mean the whole set of parameters that accessing to Instrument Manual or now accessing to them using this software could be properly set with specific values in order to shape the working of the instrument to obtain a global working compliant with the specification of the application where the instrument will be used. So once a user needs to create a new configuration for one of his instruments, he has available 3 possible ways to create a new one. The first way he could exploit is to create a configuration completely offline. With the term offline, we mean without the need to connect any instrument to the PC. In this case, he should open the new configuration window, select the correct values for all the identifier parameters needed, and finally click on the Create key in order to obtain a new configuration with all the parameters set with their default value. The other 2 ways available for the user in order to create a new configuration involves both the connection of an instrument to the PC. One of them allows the user to create a new configuration with all the parameters to the default value, but retrieving the identifier parameters directly from the connected instrument. And eventually, the last opportunity is corresponding to directly uploading the whole configuration, downloading the whole configuration of the connected instrument into the PC and using it as a starting point for the successive editing phase. An important note about the identifier parameters. They are an important set of parameters because it will be possible successfully to upload a previously created configuration to an instrument, to a connected instrument, only if the identifier parameters of the created configuration will be completely compliant and equal to the identifier parameters of the connected instrument. After the creation of the configuration has been completed, Instrument Manager offers a specific graphical user interface to make more easy for the user the editing phase of the configuration. In this interface, all the parameters composing the configuration is properly subdivided in a subset, each one of them indicated by the specific function, as in the case of this screenshot. Here we see one of the screenshots related to the configuration of a TLB4 instrument. As you can see in the windows offered by the software, we have in the right side of it a series of labels, each one referring to a specific subset of parameters ordered by functionalities. So, for example, in this case, we have here the calibration set of parameters. In this case, the calibration is highlighted, and in the right side, we have all the parameters pertaining to this subset displayed in an ordered manner. So in this way, user could modify all of them in an easy manner. Aside the calibration for TRB4 as an example, we see also a serial set of parameters in order to properly configure the working of the serial interfaces. And then we have also input-output sections, channels, management section, and miscellaneous. Okay. A specification about the editing of a particular kind of configuration, more precisely the configuration related to legal for trade instruments. As you know, using LAUMAS instrument, when an instrument is configured as with an approval state, as approved for legal for trade application, a set of specific parameters are considered by the firmware as legally relevant, and their modification is allowed only after a proper authentication by the user of the instrument. The same way of working has been implemented in Instrument Manager. So, after the creation of a configuration for a legal for trade instrument, all the legally relevant parameters will be displayed as locked. The locking of the parameter is indicated by this lock symbol, displayed by the graphical interface. And the editing of all these parameters will be allowed by the Instrument Manager user only after a successful authentication executed by the user itself. Once the editing phase has been successfully completed and we have our configuration completed through a proper connection with a connected instrument, we will be able to upload it to the instrument. Or in a symmetrical way, once a communication is properly established between the instrument and the PC, we will be able also to download the configuration as already told by the instrument to the computer in order to be used for storing, editing, and so on. Now, some words about the storing of the configurations created during the use of Instrument Manager. The tool makes available a specific database that could be filled with all the created configurations, and in this database a specific ordering parameter is made available by the software, namely that we name as profiles. So for the user it will be possible to create a set of different profiles, and during the storing of a configuration it will be possible to associate each created configuration to one specific profile. Profile is a generic term, and to it different meanings can be assigned. So, for example, a user could mean with profile the clients, or if, for example, the user produces specific machinery, he could create a profile for each machinery produced in order to associate to each profile, so to each machinery, all the configurations that will be used in that specific machinery itself. And eventually, a set of further support functions offered in order to properly manage all the configurations created exploiting the software. We have listed them all here, and so we see among them the possibility to export each stored configuration to a file in order to be moved on different PCs where Instrument Manager has been previously installed. We already saw the possibility to save the configuration and link it to a profile, but we have also the possibility to surf among all the configuration stored with the support of filtering functions, exploiting different parameters in order to search for a specific configuration, for example, and eventually software gives the possibility to properly compare to save the configuration between each other in order to highlight, for example, differences in terms of value, the values assigned to the parameters composing them. So, a specification about the connection, because once a configuration has been properly created, maybe working completely offline, we need a working connection between PC and the instrument in order to, for example, upload the created configuration to the instrument itself. As already told, the connection has to be creating, exploiting a serial link between the instrument and the PC, and all the available serial interfaces on the instrument could be exploited in order to create this link. But a specific requirement is needed. More specifically, in order to obtain a correct communication, the serial interface of the LAUMAS instrument that will be used for the communication has to be set with the Modbus protocol. Okay, once the connection has been correctly established, upload and download of the data between PC and instrument are two of the allowed possibilities for the user, but we have also a third possibility, namely exploiting all the real-time functions implemented by our software. Here we reported all these functions. So we see here a dashboard. We see the possibility to realize a real calibration on the connected instrument, and specifically for multi-channel instruments, Instrument Manager offers some real-time functions in order to properly manage the multi-channel configurations managed by this kind of instrument. Now we can take a look to each one of these functionalities, starting from the dashboard. All the functionalities offered by the dashboard are condensed in this single view. Here we reported in a screenshot. As you can see, we have a chart in this window that will show the weight trend over a 30 seconds period. During the visualization of this window, in fact, the communication will be always active between the PC and the instrument, and the software application will be able to continuously sample and retrieve the information by the instrument in order to keep this window always updated. Aside the chart that could be able, in order, for example, to analyze specific patterns in the weight trend we observed from it, we have also a set of other useful informations. Among them, we have specific graphical indications related to specific conditions of the calculated weight. So we have here an indication of the stability, an indication about the sign of the weight value, an indication about an eventual pre-applied semi-automatic tear to the weight value, and we have also an indication of a possible error condition present during the monitoring phase of the instrument. In the right side of the window, we have also in 3 different boxes other useful informations displayed. For example, we have here highlighted the current state of digital inputs and digital outputs, obviously displayed only if the connected instrument has inputs or outputs available. Again, we see here reported the load percentage calculated and referred to the sensitivity of the connected load cells. And eventually, we have a set of generic information about the connected instrument, as a specific model, firmware version, or the serial number. The same window offers a couple of quick actions available to the user, and namely, user has the possibility to pause the chart, so stopping its updating. For example, to make it more easy to better analyze a specific wave trend observed from the chart itself, or user is able to execute their operation and the corresponding switch back to the gross weight value. The last function, monitoring function offered by this window, is a couple of further information whose visualization in the chart can be enabled acting on the settings checkbox. Namely, we have the possibility to enable the visualization with horizontal yellow lines of previously set points, with the lines indicating the specific weight values assigned to these set points. And or we have the possibility to enable the visualization of more information about the stability condition of the displayed weight, namely, more precisely, enabling this function, vertical green lines will be displayed in the chart, corresponding to the time moments when the weight calculated by the instrument gains the stability condition. And correspondingly, we will see red vertical lines in correspondence of time instants where when the calculated weight will lose its stability. The second set of functions, of real-time functions, available with the Instrument Manager is related to the real calibration procedure. A specific window is available for the user, and exploiting it, the user will be able to zero his weighing system, and then he will be able to insert up to 8 calibration points. Every time a new point is added, the graphs, the chart in the central zone of the window will be automatically updated, giving the possibility to the user of take a look of the effects of the calibration executed at the moment, and if a possible error is observed, the user will be able, always exploiting this window, to remove one or all the previously added calibration points. The last, the real-time functions specifically implemented for our multi-channel instruments. Also in this case, we have a specific window dedicated to this set of functions, and in the central zone, user will be able to analyze the current weight distribution expressed as percentages on the active channels, and identically, he will be able also to analyze millivolt values detected by the instrument on the active channels, always keeping a look on the calculated weight value and its stability or related error conditions. In the same window, user will have as available a specific section that could be used in order to properly manage the channel selection functionalities. For example, he will be able to switch between automatic or manual channel selection, as already offered by the multi-channel instruments menu. And if the manual selection will be activated, always exploiting this interface, the user will be able to properly edit the selected channels and maybe to make a check in order to compare the manually edited selection with the current configuration detected by the connected instrument. And in order to conclude the presentation, the last function specifically implemented for multi-channel instrument management, namely a wizard that will be able to help the user through the execution of the equalization procedure, a feature specific of our multi-channel instruments. This wizard will properly guide the user during the whole procedure with the specific windows for each step. And during the whole procedure, when a channel gets equalized, its corresponding bar, as we will see here in this screenshot, will be turned in green. And this could be useful for the user itself in order to keep in mind of the already executed steps, the procedure, so simplifying the procedure itself and reducing the probability to make errors during it. Okay, with this slide we concluded our presentation, and we can try to put at work Instrument Manager directly with this with a live demonstration. So now we can switch. Here we have in front of me, maybe not more visible, a simple weighing system. Okay, very well. With 4 different load cells managed by a CLM8 instrument placed in this junction, in this plastic box. So we can start the Instrument Manager. This is the main window with a splash window that makes a resume of the main functionalities accessing. We see here that the language is selected now is Italian, but we can easily change it, accessing to the settings. Here, the list of the languages already managed by our software, so we can turn to English. We have to restart in order to switch to English language. Okay. Now we can try to connect to our CLM8 because we already implemented the communication with the PC, exploiting one of a simple USB to RS-232 converter. So we can click on Connect. The software during this phase will automatically check for available instruments connected to all the serial ports available on the PC where it is installed. In this case, the software finds our CLM8 with here some further informations are reported. Among them, we can see the firmware version 1.03.16. And we see in the right side of this row, this icon. This is the indication of the availability of a newer firmware version for the CLM8. Now we can try to ignore it and to go on with the connection. But we receive an error in this case because the firmware version used on the instrument is not compliant with the software. So we are forced to execute the firmware update procedure. So we can close this warning and start the firmware update procedure. For this live demonstration, we choose the worst possible condition a user can face in order relating to the firmware update. Substantially, we programmed our element with a very old firmware version, and in this case, in order to properly update the instrument, an intermediate step is required during the update procedure. But as we will see briefly, Instrument Manager is able to detect this condition and properly guide the user through the whole procedure. So we can start it, clicking on the icon and confirming in order to update the instrument. Now the Instrument Manager will retrieve the identifier parameter from the instrument. Comparing the firmware version, it is able to recognize the necessity of this intermediate step, named here as bootloader installation. So it indicates to us that we need to connect to our RS-232 of the instrument, select them. We need to select our RS-232 port, okay, and click on proceed. Now we have to put the instrument in boot mode. Okay, and proceed. Very well. The intermediate step has been already completed by the Instrument Manager, so we can now go on with the true update. Again, software is asking us to put the instrument in boot mode, so we have to execute the operation. Okay, and we can now click proceed, and the download of the new firmware version is started. So now we have about 30 seconds to wait. Obviously, this is as told, this is the worst condition you can face during an update with a newer version. This intermediate step is not required, so the procedure will automatically start directly from this step. Okay. After the download of the firmware, Instrument Manager needs a couple of steps in order to properly configure all the parameters on our instrument. This involves also a couple of reboot of the instrument, but they are all properly managed by the software itself without the need for the user to act on the instrument. The right step of the procedure, where the identifier parameters are written to the instrument and the update is complete. Now the instrument is rebooting, so after a few seconds, needed to restore the communication. We can try to refresh the available instruments. Very well. The instrument has been correctly detected by the software, And now we see that the version firmware retrieved by the instrument is 1.05.10, so the newer version installed. Now we can go on with the connection. So we click on connection. All the data are automatically retrieved by the instrument and properly displayed. So we see here in the top of the window some information, and here our parameters already ordered as told in a specific subset. So we have here all the parameters related to the calibration. So we can now, for example, edit them, setting 100 kilograms as a theoretical full-scale value. We can change the division, 0.05. We can change our unit measure. As you can see, the user interface is able to automatically update in real time after the editing of each of these parameters, as the software automatically implements all the rules that you will find described also in the instruments, the user manuals, in order to properly set the values for each of these parameters. So we can take verifications. Okay. Now suppose we completed our editing phase. We can save our configuration in the window that is opened. We can select. Okay, we see here only one single profile. We can, if we are not satisfied, maybe we can define a specific new profile. Demo. Can associate it to our profile an image, a logo, if we want. But we can save. Okay. Now, if we can try to save our configuration again, we find our LAUMAS demo profile among the variables, so we can save our configuration associating it to this profile. Okay. Now we can create a second configuration. For example, sensitivity of state, and we can make 5. So we can save also this. No. New configuration. So we can save it. Okay. Now we can take a look to the functionality related to configuration management. So, for example, we can see the list of all the configured configurations available. So we can see here the 2 configurations we saved associated to our profile, and we see in the top the interface that makes possible to filter among or to surf among all the stored configuration in order to search one specific configuration. So, for example, we can select specific configuration, and starting from this window, we will be able to open the specific configuration. Okay, in order to retrieve it in our graphical user interface. Now we can try to upload this configuration to the instrument we have connected to our PC. So we can simply access to the Connect window and click on Upload. If we confirm the message, automatically all the parameters of the configuration will be downloaded on our instrument. Okay. After this operation, the instrument automatically will reboot, so we have to wait a few seconds in order to connect to it. Maybe because now we can, we can try to exploit the real-time functions offered by Instrument Manager. Due to the fact that here we have a multi-channel transmitter, in order to make, to properly set our weighing system, we can start with the execution of the equalization of our system. So, I accessed to the multi-channel window. Here we see continuously updated the load distribution among the activated channels. Now I'm putting a load receptor on our system. As you can see in the right side, we see that the CLMate is set with the automatic selection mode, and below this information, we see that among the all channels available on the instrument, the channels active now are the channel 2, 3, 6, and 8. So now we can start our equalization procedure. The wizard will start giving to us all the information needed to properly execute the procedure and successfully complete it. So the first step is the storing of the weight distribution with an empty scale. So we can click next. That is activated only if the weight is in a stable condition. And now we can, using a sample weight, we can start store the configurations needed by the instrument in order to properly execute the procedure. Okay. As you can see, after a successfully completed step, the channel equalized during this step is turned in green, and this is helpful to keep in mind the channels already equalized. So we can now go on. Okay, second step. Okay, change. Okay, and for example, if I make an error and I put the weight on an already equalized channel, it's easy to identify this condition, because in this case we see that the more the channel with the greater value of weight on it is the channel 2, but it is green. That it means that it has already been equalized. So we can correct our function. Click next. Okay, the software gives us a message indicating that the equalization procedure has terminated correctly. So we can finish it. And now we can try to make some brief tests. Okay. Effectively, the equalization has been correctly completed, because moving the weight around the weight receptor, the weight value detected, calculated by the instrument, is always the same. So, as always, now we can access to the real calibration window, because we need to properly set our scale. So once the weight is stable, we can set the zero of our system, and we can, for example, add one single point. Okay, now the scale is not so, it's quite meaningless, but we can in any way add a specific point. The insertion is enabled only if the weight value is stable, calculated weight is stable. maybe we can add a second value. So, okay. So as you can see, after the insertion of each calibration point, the graph is, the chart is automatically updated by the software in order to give us the opportunity to analyze the effects of our calibration features. Now, suppose we completed our calibration. So we can connect again to our instrument. And we can access to the dashboard, for example, in order to make some tests if we need to do them, and exploiting all the functions made available by this specific window. So if we would like to better observe the weight trend register, we can stop it and resume in order to go on with our tests. Okay. But this function, as already told, is specifically designed for the monitoring of the instrument working. The last useful functionality I would like to show you is the compare of configurations. So we have here two different configurations. We can select them using the specific window. Okay, we can click on compare, and now we have available the parameters of both the configurations compared between each other, with the differences highlighted by this red background. This could be useful in order to better analyze the differences between a couple of configurations. Okay, with this, it's all for this demonstration. So now I will take this space for the questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good, Matteo. Thank you very much. Sorry for the little trouble occurred, but I repeat, it's normal when it's live, so nothing bad happened. Well, we can now start with the questions time. We already received some questions, so we can start with it. And then we can go deep in the matters. So the first question was, why is the serial number stated with 633999? Well, this is just a serial number, so it was an example, nothing else. Then one more question is it possible to read out the real calibration? I do not understand the meaning of the question. Maybe you understood what.
Okay, yeah. Well, actually, yes, is this possible? Maybe. One moment. Okay.
You can switch on again the program.
Okay. 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 Once the connection has been completed and the instrument configuration has been downloaded to the PC, we can access to the real calibration page, and here we see the calibration point, the 0 point comprised, already stored on our instrument. So we see here three different points we implemented, we realized during our previously executed calibration. Okay, so I think for our user, it is possible to retrieve the current calibration executed on the instrument, simply downloading the data from the instrument to the PC, as in this case.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Then one more question is it possible to export the graphic data?
And the graphic data, if with graphic data the user
I
means
think it's about the dashboard.
the dashboard, no, at the moment it is not possible. Also because these are data sampled with a very low frequency, with 3 or 5 samples per second, and it is intended for monitoring of the working instrument. But maybe it could be a good thing for next development of our software.
Okay, good. Another similar question is, are you able to save the waveform data? So not export the data of the dashboard, but to save it.
No, in the same manner, it is not possible now.
Okay, good. So let's move to another question from Stefan, who is asking, which is the difference between filter scale type 0 and type 1? Explained.
Okay.
This option is shown in the CLM8 theoretical calibration window.
Yeah, sure. Substantially, with the firmware versions we developed to be compliant with Instrument Manager, we also implemented a new kind of filtering functionalities. So we make the instrument makes available 2 different scale of filtering levels. The type 0 is substantially the normal, let's say, scale already offered by LAUMAS instrument, while the type 1 scale substantially implements filtering where for all the levels available the same sampling rate is applied in order to calculate the weight by the instrument. Namely, all the levels in type 1 scale offers a 100 sample per second for the calculated weight.
Okay, good. Then we have 3 different questions that are all very similar. So, what kind of instrument can we connect in the software? And another one is the software working with all of your electronics? Another one is how can we use this program also with W indicators? So I can answer for Matteo in this case. The question is always same. So in this stage, the software is compatible with all the single channel transmitters and the multi-channel transmitters. In a few weeks, it will be released a new version, including W series indicator, the simpler ones, let's say, and then we will add all the others. It's quite a long job, because when we talk about the indicators, everyone has different features, different parameters, especially when we talk about, for example, dosing softwares for filling or for unloading. There are a lot of sets of parameters to be handled by the software. So we are working on it, and the expectation is to be able to give you a complete software, including all the electronics, in the next month. In any case, from our website, you can always update the latest and more updated version of the software. So you will see these improvements step by step, and the software itself will inform you that you can download a new version. Am I correct, Matteo?
Yes, and it is. You are correct. In fact, if you install Instrument Manager on your PC and an Ethernet connection is available, automatically after each start of the software, it will check also for updates for itself. So if a newer version of software of Instrument Manager will be available, this will be automatically signaled to the user, and it will be able to download it from our web servers and properly install it on the PC. So every further update will be properly signaled in an automatic way to all the users.
Okay, that's great. So you don't need to wait for information. The software will inform you.
Yes.
That more electronics are now available, and that you can use it with them. We have one more question, always about the real calibration. So the customer is asking is it possible to save the real calibration data in PDF format? Maybe you can export it to the PC and then print it? I don't know.
No, at the moment, no. You can export all the configuration data, so also the real calibration points in a specific file format that could be managed by Instrument Manager, but not in PDF version.
Okay, good. So you can find all the information and all the data on the software?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Substantially, yes.
Good. But I think it's quite normal. Anyway, we have another question. If we use your electronic, can we connect other manufacturers' analog load cells and still have information from every single load cell? Of course. So the answer is yes. Our software and our electronics are compatible with any load cell produced by any manufacturer. So you can use, if you use LAUMAS load cells, we are happier, but you can use the load cells that you prefer, but the load cells have to be analog ones, of course. Another question, can we have remote control over customer swagging systems if it is connected to internet? For example, customer has scale under a silo, something is wrong, and we check remotely by your software what's going on.
Okay, no, at the moment it is not possible because we initially developed our instrument in order to manage the greatest number of instruments available, and this means to choose the serial communication. But maybe in one of the next developments, we will implement also communication via Ethernet.
Yes, because basically our service port, the service port on all of our indicators and transmitters is the RS485. We have it on all of them. We are planning to develop new versions and new evolutions of our indicators and transmitters having different service ports like Ethernet or USB. And when we'll have done that step, at that time, we will be able to do what this customer is asking. Again, so in this way, we need, for example, TeamViewer to see customer's computer to use his software connected to the scale.
Yes, yes. In this case, you should install the Instrument Manager in the customer PC, and then you have to access to the customer PC using TeamViewer, and then access to, in this way, to the Instrument Manager.
Okay. So, customer is happy of your answer. Let's see if we have some more questions. Otherwise, we could say that this time is gone. So, in any case, thank you for participating. I remind you that in a few minutes you receive the questionnaire on your email address. So please answer to the questionnaire and send it back to us, because I repeat, it's important. We have one more question. So using this program, we are able to make backup from the TLB. In case of some defect of TLB, we are able to replace defective one with new one and upload configuration to new one. Yes, the answer is yes. So this is one of the features. You can save all the calibration data, you save it in the software. If you need, you can, as you have seen, you can associate to your customer a specific transmitter with a specific serial number. If you have done and saved the calibration and the transmitter that you sold to that customer fails, you can paste and copy the data from the software to the new device and send to the customer a system already calibrated. Some more questions are coming. Is it possible to do a multi-point calibration theoretical without sample weights?
No.
No, it has it's not possible. I don't think it has much sense in our point of view, but it's not possible. Another question is support Wi-Fi operation?
No.
No. Okay. Again, let's see if some questions arise. So in the meantime, yes, I reminded you to fill the questionnaire. I remind you that in a few weeks, the complete webinar will be available on our website. So if you want to check it again, or if you want to share it with someone else, it would be nice. And I also remind you that in the webinar section of our website, you will see all the information about new events in the calendar. At the moment, we haven't new webinars planned for the next weeks, but with the new year, we'll try to do it more frequently and more often. Let me check, Matteo, but I do not see any other. No, yes, there's one more. No, okay. So, no more questions. So, guys, again, thank you very much for attending this webinar and for spending this time with us. I hope it was helpful. So, see you next time. Keep in touch.
Bye.
Bye.